Here's the thing. If you're over 40, you've probably had this moment where you look at your income and think, I'm making more money than I ever have. And then you look at your savings and somehow it doesn't feel easier. You're not broke, you're not reckless, you're not blowing money on dumb stuff, you're paying your bills, you're being responsible, and yet saving feels heavier than it used to. And that's the part that really messes with people. Because when saving feels hard in your 20s, that makes sense. You're just starting out. When it feels hard in your 30s, you tell yourself it's temporary. But when it still feels hard after 40, that's when people quietly start thinking, something must be wrong with me. My name is Alex, and I spend way too much time thinking about personal finance and why money feels so different at different stages of life. And if you're someone who's earning more than before, doing most of the right things, but still feels like saving takes way more effort than it should, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're going to talk about why saving after 40 genuinely feels harder, why this isn't just in your head, and why the rules that used to work earlier in life quietly stop working the same way. Most people believe that saving should automatically get easier as you get older. You gain experience, your income goes up, you're smarter with money, so saving should feel lighter, not heavier. That belief sounds logical, but it's wrong. And the reason it's wrong is because it assumes that the game stays the same. It assumes that income is the main variable that matters. But here's what most people don't realize. After 40, the game changes, even if no one ever explains that to you. Let's start with something simple. In your 20s and early 30s, most of your expenses are flexible. You don't have much to lose. You can move, you can downsize, you can cut back, you can take risks. If something goes wrong, you still have time to recover. Saving at that stage is mostly about discipline. Spend a little less, earn a little more, and you see progress. But after 40, your expenses stop being flexible and start becoming fixed. And fixed expenses change everything. Think about housing. Earlier in life, housing is often temporary. Apartments, roommates, short-term decisions. After 40, housing becomes an anchor. A mortgage, property taxes, maintenance, insurance, repairs. Even if you're renting, rents tend to rise faster than income. According to U.S. housing data, housing costs have consistently outpaced wage growth over the last 2 decades. That means every raise you get is partially absorbed before you even see it. Saving doesn't feel harder because you're worse with money. It feels harder because housing quietly eats first. Now, layer healthcare on top of that. This is where things really start to shift after 40. In your 20s, healthcare is mostly an afterthought. In your 40s, it becomes a line item you can't ignore. Premiums go up, deductibles get higher, you start paying for things you never paid for before. And here's the psychological trap. Healthcare costs don't feel optional, so you don't question them the same way you question other spending. They just become part of life. That means saving doesn't compete with wants anymore, it competes with necessities. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I make more money now. That should balance it out. That's what everyone thinks, but this is where it gets really interesting. As income rises after 40, so do expectations, not just from society, but from yourself. You're expected to live a certain way. Reliable car, safer neighborhood, better insurance, helping family, supporting kids, preparing for retirement. None of these things are reckless, they're responsible. But responsibility is expensive. Let's do some simple math. Imagine you get a $10,000 raise. After taxes, maybe you see $7,000. Now subtract higher insurance premiums, increased housing costs, higher utility bills, and a little lifestyle creep that you barely notice. Suddenly that raise feels invisible, not because it vanished, but because it got pre-allocated the moment it arrived. Saving feels harder because the margin never actually grows. And this is where psychology kicks in. The human brain is terrible at recognizing slow, recurring costs. One-time expenses feel painful. Monthly expenses feel normal. After 40, your financial life is dominated by monthly obligations. Subscriptions, insurance, services, fees, maintenance. Individually, none of them feel devastating. Collectively, they compress your ability to save. And because they're recurring, your brain stops flagging them as problems. Another thing people don't talk about enough is risk tolerance. When you're younger, you can afford mistakes. After 40, mistakes cost more. You're closer to retirement, you have less time to recover. That makes you more cautious, which sounds smart, but it also changes how saving feels. Every dollar you save feels like it has a job. Emergency fund, retirement, healthcare buffer, family support. Saving stops feeling like progress and starts feeling like pressure. And here's a big one most people never articulate. After 40, you're not just saving for yourself anymore. You're saving against uncertainty. Aging parents, health surprises, job instability, market volatility. Even if none of those things have happened yet, you feel them coming. That background anxiety changes your relationship with money. Saving becomes defensive instead of optimistic. Now, you might be thinking, so what's the point? Am I just stuck? No, but this is where a lot of people go wrong. They try to solve a structural problem with motivational advice. Just budget harder, just cut more, just hustle. That advice works early in life. After 40, it often backfires because the problem isn't effort, it's friction. Saving feels harder after 40 because your financial system has more friction, more fixed costs, more obligations, less flexibility. That doesn't mean you're failing, it means the strategy has to change. Instead of focusing only on how much you save, you have to start focusing on what competes with your savings. This is where most people don't realize they need a different mindset. You can't out-discipline fixed costs forever. You have to manage them. That means questioning expenses that feel like locked in. Insurance, housing, subscriptions, services. Not cutting everything, but understanding which costs quietly scale up without adding real value. It also means redefining progress. Earlier in life, progress is visible. Balances grow fast. After 40, progress is often invisible. Stability, lower stress, fewer surprises. Those don't feel exciting, but they matter more than ever. Saving isn't about hitting a number anymore. It's about buying resilience. And finally, this is the part people need to hear. If saving feels harder after 40, it doesn't mean you missed your chance. It means you've entered a different phase of the game. A phase where protecting money matters as much as growing it, where reducing risk matters as much as chasing returns, where consistency beats intensity. So, if you're over 40 and saving feels heavier than it used to, don't assume you're doing something wrong. Ask a better question. Ask what changed around you. Ask which expenses became permanent. Ask where your flexibility went. Because once you see that clearly, saving stops feeling like a personal failure and starts feeling like a system you can actually improve. And that shift alone makes all the difference.